Welcome again to Dow's Weekly Digest. How's it going? I got some feedback from some people. They said, we could be wrong, but you might be getting taller. It's not that, folks. Last week's theme was on loyalty, I believe. I've been loyal to my beautician, Sarah. Sarah's in a place where I'm not comfortable yet going. So since about March, I guess it was, folks, I haven't got my hair cut. So it's getting a little taller each time. I'm racing a guy. There's a newscaster on our local NBC station. He hasn't got a haircut either. And so I see his hair going up and up. Afraid so, mine is too. So I'm not getting taller. I'm probably actually shrinking. But there are changes. It kind of hit me this week. Man, I'm really missing seeing people. About breakfast, I'd have breakfast with agents, associates. I miss that. A monthly meeting. We've had a couple Zoom-type monthly meetings. I'm speaking of our staff here. Man, I miss it. This month of June, I would have golfed with a NAFA group that we would have sponsored. We would have brought one of the premier carriers here, and they have fun with us and helping us sponsor that event. And we've done that quite a few years now. I would have went fishing in Pier with a big high group, along with, man, I'm missing the lunch and learns that I do, where I'm able to share a little information that earns you seed credits. But at the same time, we're sharing stories. And I get stories from you, and believe me, I use them later. And boy, I'm sure I'm missing those particular things. I'm missing church. I'm missing visiting the churches. I am a member of the Gideons. And as such, then, part of my duties or responsibilities I love to do is I'm able to go visit churches in our community here. And oh man, that is so great. I'm sure missing those things. And relatives, by now we would have maybe went back to Nebraska twice. Easter, Resurrection Day, we go to church with LaDonna's mom. And those get-togethers that we have, I visit on my side of the family. We get together. Man, I'm missing that. And we would have been in the cycle where we'd go to Panama, and we got word last night that Panama has extended the travel ban, and they won't have the opportunity till July 24th. And I also saw that the U.S.-Canadian and the U.S.-Mexico border, that's closed till July 21st. So, again, things are changing, but I sure miss you guys, and I miss the whole, speaking of, I guess, the whole family. But we will persevere, go forward, rock steady, and stay on course. So as I said, hold the course, rock steady. Steady, steadfast. That's the theme I'd like to use today. And let's start out with, where? The Bible. That's the book for me. What's it going to say about steady? Or maybe the word steadfast. It says, as Christians, we stand what? Firm in the faith. Firm, okay? Through our trials, we are to remain steadfast. Hebrews 10:23 says, let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering. 1 Corinthians 15, verse 58. Therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, stand firm. A little bit about on the biblical side there. Before we jump into a little further, though, I got to share with you some cowboy wisdom here. Here's a couple here. Just because trouble comes a-visiting, it doesn't mean you have to have a place for him to sit. The only good reason to ride a bull is to meet a nurse. The only good reason To ride a bull is to be a nurse. And I love this one. Don't dig for water under the outhouse. But indeed, don't dig for water under the outhouse. A little South Dakota trivia. We're noted out here for our Black Hills Gold. Black Hills Gold. And the color of that would be gold. It could be kind of a greenish type of a tint there to it. And red and yellow. That's the different things that you'll see on jewelry of a Black Hills Gold around here. You know, in early 1800s, a Catholic priest, Father De Smet, it's recorded that he encouraged the Native Americans that were visiting the church at that time to keep quiet in regards to the gold in the Black Hills. All the way back to 1800s. Well, they were pretty quiet for about 7 decades, I guess. Because in 1877, a prospector named Potato Creek Johnny, isn't that name? Potato Creek Johnny, on a creek not too far behind what we know as Deadwood, is when they started to find gold. Is when they find gold. And they still mine gold today. I'd like to share with you today a story as it relates to steadfastness, or maybe shorten it, say steady. Comes from Aesop's Fables. And I won't go into the details of the story because I bet you know it. It's the story of the tortoise and the hare. Tortoise and the hare. Slow and steady wins the race. Slow and steady wins the race. Tortoise and the hare. Someone who is steadfast or steady, they're fixed in direction. That tortoise moved its head forward, and it was fixed in its direction. Okay? Firm in its purpose. It knew it was a race, and it had the purpose that I'm going to do the very best I can to win this race. That was the purpose. Unwavering. The hare was out, running so fast, he thought he'd go take a nap and still win the race and the whole thing. But the tortoise, he was unwavering. He stayed on course. He stayed on course. The resolute. They know kind of what their purpose is. If you want to use that phrase a little bit. And they're fixed in position. You're not going to have them waver. They're not going to stop along the wayside and take a nap. They're going to go forward. You know, with those kind of attributes to the word steady or steadfastness, it might be looked at maybe being a little bit rare. That maybe in our culture, it's looked at that the spotlight goes on the hare, the fastness of it, the quickness of it, you know. And the result of that sometimes is maybe we'll have, you could buy your term insurance right online. Look how fast it will be. Do they get to talk to a professional advisor? No. But boy, look how fast it is. We don't hear a lot about the maybe tortoise people or the tortoise organizations. I think that those attributes that I speak of there, it maybe could be funneled down to one thing, and that would be those tortoise people, they have a passion. They love what they're doing. And that's what keeps them on direction. That's what keeps them unwavering. You can learn to be a tortoise person. By so, you can help your organization or join an organization that would what I would call a tortoise organization. But actually being that tortoise person can really inspire others to be that also. Some adjectives maybe of a tortoise people or organization. I believe that they're honorable, trustworthy, dependable, faithful, and true. The world could use a few more tortoise people. So I said, what the good news is, you can become a tortoise person. You can be in the outlook for tortoise organizations. And one of the best is one of our premier carriers, One America. You see, One America, one of our premier insurance carriers, they're helping guarantee a family's financial security. And notice right up front, they're not hesitant in using that word, guarantee. You know, there's a well-accepted measuring stick out there that we here at Financial Markets look at, along with individuals and organizations in our industry. It's called Comdex. And the measuring stick kind of says, okay, here's the parameters from 0 to 100. And 100 maybe think of school like being an A++, if you want to say. That's the grade that you got on the report card. Well, that measuring stick, One America, 95. Their Comdex is 95. That's very, very good, folks. That's steadfastness. Steadfastness. They use a philosophy of asset-based long-term care. You'll hear sometimes baby boomers such as myself, well, that's over there for a rainy day, for an emergency. So if an emergency happens, they may actually, speaking of a long-term care risk, if that happens. And you can show them how to apply the L word. What I mean by that? Leverage. You can show them how to leverage. Maybe to use this asset here. It's done its work over the years, but now let's just look at how it can leverage and actually help you for that event. Where then in the future, you won't have to use the rest of that rainy day fund. And with their products, I don't think it's necessarily you don't sell. You're there to help. You're there to have the family collectively talk about this high probability of it happening to a family member. And how, again, with you being there and helping them, you can help them leverage those assets. You know, long-term care today has changed. It usually starts out where? Maybe in the home. And you can relate to your clients. There was a recent LIMRA study that came out last week that there's a very, very high percentage of people that all of a sudden kind of know what the term caregiver is. Home caregiver. People can relate more to that term, a home caregiver, and what it totally entails to be a home caregiver. What I'm saying is they're willing to listen. The family's willing to listen. That's at the forefront, folks. There's that wealth protection that needs to be taken care of. That, as I said, that rainy day fund. And frankly, we're hearing of what? Very high percentages of this virus in long-term care facilities. I want something that helped me where I can get home health care in my capital H home. And unlike maybe typical long-term care, they can use it or they can pass it on. They can use it or they can pass it on. So as I said, there's a big market there in the 50+ market for this particular need. And again, they're not trying to be everything to everybody. They are laser focused on this particular need. So why maybe a asset-based long-term care? You've got a sustainable company. Comdex, what? 95. Comdex of 95. It's what the demand's only growing. More and more all the time. You hear of how many of us baby boomers are reaching at certain things. I've got stability, another S word. I got the steadfastness. It is stable. It is predictable. And I said, what? In their portfolio that they have, material that they produce, they use the word guarantee, guarantee, guarantee. And when you have these conversations with your clients, and I said, what? You're there to help, not to sell. And so ask questions and listen, folks, listen. Maybe some conversations to have with the client would be this little question. You may never need care, but if you did, how would it affect your family? He may say, well, she's going to take care of me. And if you think of maybe the ratio of people in long-term care facilities now, there may be more ladies there than there are gentlemen. And if you're speaking to Mr. and Mrs., you're asking each one of them that question. Understand you may get that quick answer from him. Well, she's going to take care of me. Ask that very same question of the Mrs. Because she's going to be what? It's affecting, as I say, spouses. It's affecting children. And sometimes children are married. So you have in-laws. You have grandchildren. You have, as mobile as we are, sometimes they're not all close. And so sometimes this caregiver that they're thinking of when you ask this question, it too laser focuses to one particular family member. And it may cause somewhat unnecessary losses, not only to that one that had that life event, but as we see, like the pebble in the water, to the others too. To the others too. So you may never need care, but if you did, how would you handle it? Who would take care of you? Who would take care of you? You know, I had a meeting years back with one of our associates. She brought in her parents, and she brought her sister in. So there was her mom and dad, and there was her sister there. That was the whole family there, and we were speaking of them on long-term care. And KR just come out and said, we're not going to be here to change your diapers. That's the reason we're talking today. They were addressing this particular question itself. Well, if you did need care, how would you handle it? How would you pay for it? Would you be thinking of the government? And then ask them, how would the government be involved? Maybe it's VA benefits. Maybe it's they thinking that Medicare would jump in and pay. Okay, explore that with them. And you know, I had one agent, Denny, tell me about a long-term care policy that he had sold years ago, and it had, get this, folks, an unlimited pool. And he was speaking of the hundreds of thousands of dollars that he had of a client that was still collecting on that particular policy. So maybe they have existing long-term care. Or maybe they're using the term, well, I'll self-fund it myself. Excellent. Gives you an opportunity to explore that with them. So, if you needed the care, how would you take care of it? How would you pay for it? You know, maybe you're laser focusing folks on that self-funding. If they say that to you, maybe you can ask, well, what's the hierarchy? What are the steps they'll be taking? In other words, what will be the first assets that you're going to be using for this self-funding? And is there any possibility that it's going to very much depreciate? Or the act of that will depreciate the other remaining assets? Explore it more. And one way to do it would be to ask, what would be the asset that they would start to liquidate first? Maybe as I alluded to a little bit, but if I expand upon, there are two types of long-term care protection provided by insurance carriers. You know, the traditional health-based, and then again we have here the asset-based long-term care, and somewhat use a phrase of a hybrid type of plan. Well, the traditional, in simplicity terms, let me just say, use it or lose it. Whereas the asset-based and hybrid plans, it involves life insurance. And they're able to use that word guarantee because they're using a whole life policy. And the premium doesn't change, folks. Guarantee. But the asset base, the life insurance or the life insurance hybrid, you could use the phrase there of live, quit, or die. You know, your life is covered in life insurance. Your care is covered if you have that life event. And it has a living value of what cash value there. Live, die, or quit. So looking at the needs, One America and their steadfastness have developed two vehicles, if you will, to help them. And that would be their life insurance to take care of the need, and they call that asset care. And contact your internal wholesalers to maybe get the particulars on that and see if that would be the right peg for that round hole. The other would be in maybe looking at the asset portfolio itself, and what it's comprised of is called annuity-based long-term care need. And they call that annuity care. So they're able to approach the client's needs by these two different paths and still get to the end destination for your client there. But in comparing it to typical, let's say, long-term care, as I said, there was live, die, or quit. I use that phrase there. I use also the G word, guaranteed. But we have guaranteed premiums. I said it was a whole life policy, so guess what? The cash value is guaranteed. I have guaranteed cash value there. I have a guaranteed death benefit. We can do joint coverage, folks, for that portfolio that's been built there. We could take money from that and use that reallocation to help both of them for that life event. Joint coverage. And you would think maybe with joint coverage that, well, in simplicity, if the premium on him is $100, then we're going to add her. Maybe she would also be $100, so the premium together would be $200. Not so. It would be less than the $200 in my sample, folks. Now we'd look at the health of each one of them, and I'm assuming we're using the asset care, the life portion of that. So evidence and insurability would be needed. But the point is, there is something to be gained of joint coverage there. This phrase I've been using all along here is long-term care. They can cover for a lifetime. So if I want $4,000 a month, I could have $4,000 a month to cover myself and LaDonna, and we could have it covered for a lifetime, as long as we live. Either one of us. Lifetime coverage. So protection against a long-term event to cover what? That rainy day fund, even more. I mentioned annuity care. Congress in January of 2010 enacted a law. This law was called the Pension Protection Act. Of course, we love our abbreviations, so it's what? PPA. But it allowed you to take a non-qualified annuity, take the value of that policy using the means of a 1035 exchange, and buy it an annuity care annuity. Annuity care has the element of what? Long-term care. One America is one of the few, if not the only folk, that has an indexed annuity that qualifies under that transaction, under the PPA. So I think you can see there is a fixed direction. They have a fixed position. They are unwavering. Yes, they may be looked at maybe as the tortoise because they don't have all these bells and whistles, folks, of all the different plans, but they have the element of the tortoise. They are steady, rock steady. They are steadfast. Well, now it's time for the recommendations. Theme, steady. Okay. How about the poem? Well, the poem is entitled Steady, Steady. That's the title of the poem. So if you Google the poem, Steady, Steady, and the author is well-known author, Anonymous. Good old Anonymous. The poem, Steady, Steady. How about the song? Well, I'm a baby boomer again, but there is a song out there called Rock Steady. Rock Steady, the group was called The Whispers. Quite a group back in the 60s, okay? The Whispers, Rock Steady. Back in the 60s, there would be a show called American Bandstand. And part of the show would be that they would rate a record. And most consistently, a lot of times they would ask the person, what do you give it? Again, a 0 to 100. Oh, I'll give it a 75. It had a good beat to dance to. Well, Rock Steady has a steady beat. I would go find that on YouTube and play it with the family. Get the family together and say, hey, this was recommended. And play that song, Rock Steady. You know, I would use it if I had a group of boys, maybe in a football team. I'd use that as their theme song. Get them out there when they're doing exercises and calisthenics and play Rock Steady, because that's what you want them to be when they're playing out there, is Rock Steady. So that'd be my song recommendation. The book, maybe some thought of him maybe being a tortoise, but he knew how to build champions. This book is entitled Coach Wooden. And there's a remark here from Tony Dungy. Some of you may recognize the name there from football. But he says this, Coach Wooden didn't teach basketball. He taught life. So legends aren't born, they're made. And he made legends. Right there. Very good book. Very good book. And the movie. Well, the movie's based on a true story. And it takes place, and it follows this young man's life when he was a little boy, all the way to where he became famous. The name of this movie is Hands of Stone. Hands of Stone. And the athlete that I'm speaking of here, his name was Roberto Duran. Roberto Duran, and he's from the country of Panama. Robert De Niro was one of the producers, and he's in the movie himself, dealing with that. Our premier carrier for today was One America. Almost like their name, One America. They have one primary theme, folks, and that's for that life event of long-term care and how they're going to handle it. You're going to see a video here of Tom and Jennifer and how they're concerned about outliving their retirement and still having that rainy day fund for emergencies. So I think you're going to enjoy it, and it's going to maybe, again, laser focus on some of the things I was talking about today.
You don't want to outlive your retirement, right? Because that's what so many people are faced with, my parents included. So it's what can you do to prepare so that in the event you do need that assistance, whether it's in your home or outside of the home, you're not gonna just eat up your entire savings.
I have a large amount of retirement socked away currently, which will grow a little bit more, but now I know that that will remain there and we won't have to dip into that to help in a medical emergency or situation. So that I feel a lot better about it, and that was the main thing that we talked about, is we need to be covered in this, and I think Jennifer's the same way. She was real excited about it.
We were looking for something that would cover both of us in the event that either or both needed it, that would not fully fund the event, but that would help protect. You know, we wouldn't have to dip into that savings and take as much out. Think of your whole family. It's not just you and your husband or you, but it affects everybody around you, so your entire family. And we wanted to make sure that we weren't a burden on each other or our family.
But we're covered by that, and that's important. Same with my daughter. Say if I lose Jennifer and I was in some type of an assistance living situation, my daughter could use this policy to cover any needs I might have as well.
We saw it as kind of a gift of care for our family, not having to worry about, well, what's going to happen if, something just happened to Dad or something just happened to Jennifer, how are we going to pay for it? Who's going to be the caregiver? Things like that. So it really is it's a gift of care as well.
Was it a good one? I thought it was. I thought Jennifer made some real good comments there of what we want to prepare the family with the gift of care. They were preparing their family that by them leveraging their assets and purchasing the One America product, that they're going to help take care and ease that stress, that anxiety, that whether it be at the home health care or at a long-term care facility, that they were going to do that. So they were preparing for a family gift of care, of care. And again, that policy was covering both of them. One policy was covering both of them for that life event risk. And that's pretty unique there. So again, we're here being steady to help you, as you talk to your clients, talk to them about this life event of long-term care need. And as I said, more of them can relate to being a caregiver. They've heard stories of being the caregiver on all different elements. What better time to be talking to them about that life event of long-term care? Blessed are those who ease the pain of misfortune, for they should be called insurance agents. And GP for you, okay? GP for you equals G. Here's a big hint. I'm a baby boomer. So there, 1959, I believe that there was a commercial. Of course, it was black and white. But in that commercial, there is an animated character that he talks about. And his tone and kind of the phraseology that he uses is where I kind of get GP for you equals G. Okay, 1959, animated character, commercial. Have a good week, folks. Take care.